What's the last really good book you've read? If you've been in a bit of a reading slump, summer is the best time to get back into it. Many people try to break this slump by picking an easy read, while others have no problem diving back into a 400-page historical nonfiction. Whichever title you choose, there's nothing quite like getting lost in the pages of a "I can't put this down, it's so good" book. And within every genre, authors consider this feeling while writing. They ask, who's my target reader and how do I hook them? Why should they care about this story? What do I want to leave them with? These are just some of the questions that authors and their editors take into account when trying to build a successful book.
We see Nora Roberts, we see Stephen King, we see Colleen Hoover, and we see them cranking out books in the millions. A book is doing extremely well if it sells 2,000 copies over the entire lifetime of the book. And that's traditionally published, that's Big Five, that's literary presses, that's university presses, that's self-publishers. If you can move 2,000 copies, you are doing great.
That's Allison K. Williams, a writer and developmental editor. Through her business, The Unkind Editor, she's helped many creatives as they work through the challenging process of writing a book and getting copies sold. While self-publishing or submitting an entry to a publisher is easier than before, it's harder than ever to get noticed because there's so much competition.
Well, the good books still rise to the top. And a lot of times when you're an author and you're really proud of your work and you're getting a lot of rejections, it doesn't feel like your good book is rising to the top. But agents really are opening their email. Publishers really are opening their email going, I hope this is the one. I hope this is the one. Oh, I hope this is the one. Because they want to find a project that they can fall in love with and share with the world, and everybody makes money and the readers are all happy.
To get a better sense of how the book business has changed, Michael Castleman chimes in. Castleman is the author of The Untold Story of Books and has worked as an author and studied the industry for more than 40 years.
In 1980, when my first book came out, American publishers released 45,000 titles that year, 45,000. This year, and pretty much every year since about 2005, publishers and self-publishers in the United States alone have released 2 million books. There's been an absolute explosion, an avalanche, a deluge of new titles.
You may not know this, but today most books aren't even printed until a person clicks the buy button.
In the 20th century, publishers would print books, distribute them, and wait for them to sell. In the 21st century, all books have become digital files that sit on servers, and if somebody orders one, the publisher or Ingram, the big distributor, prints it, ships it to the bookstore, and that's how books get distributed. So their publishers are not sitting with huge warehouses full of books anymore. They print books on demand.
Go back 40 years and the typical book sold at least 1,000 copies. Today, Castleman says only about 6% of titles make it to that 1,000-copy mark. Among self-published books, this number is even lower.
Most self-published books don't sell 100 copies. They're selling in two figures. 80% of books today sell fewer than 100 copies, which means that there are an enormous number of very deeply frustrated authors who can't figure out why their books aren't selling. Well, the absolute glut, the sheer number of books means that the pie gets cut thinner than a dust jacket.
This low sell rate is frustrating, and on top of this, the average payout per copy sold is lower than before. Today, writers and their publishers are vying for consumers' attention in a world filled with social media, TV, podcasts, and other entertainment. A select handful of book authors have made it big, and these sales help propel the rest of the industry.
They need these big deal books so that they can take a chance on smaller books, on first-time authors, on people who have a more niche subject matter or who are doing something new in their genre. And so while it's tempting to look around and go, oh man, how come Stephen King gets the great big advance and they offered me $500 to publish my book? We forget that it is all a connected ecosystem. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's really important for writers to think about their audience and think about their mission.
Williams believes it's still possible to be successful in this field, but it takes time, effort, and a lot of luck. Making millions shouldn't be how success is measured.
As a writer, as an author, it's really important that you're clear on who you're writing for and why, so that you can measure your success against that benchmark and not against Stephen King, Nora Roberts, Colleen Hoover, because the vast majority of us are just never going to be stars like that. And that's not a bad thing. It's just the way it is.
Being a writer has never been an easy, straight-shot career path. Most aspiring writers work a full-time job or some side hustles to make a living. It's only after their shift or on the weekends that there's time to write. Even Stephen King, back in the mid-'70s, struggled for someone to pick up his first book, Carrie.
He got so discouraged after rejections, he threw it in the trash can, and his wife, Tabitha, rescued it, and he sent it to one more agent who picked it up. But Stephen King was able to pay some of his bills by writing short stories for horror magazines. There used to be this stack of genre magazines, horror, mystery, fantasy, science fiction, and you could make a reasonably decent living if you turned out content on a regular basis that was pleasing to readers.
Writing is full of ups and downs, and today it can feel even more precarious as authors and freelancers are paid less per word. Yet both Castleman and Williams agreed that if you're passionate about the craft, don't let the challenges deter you.
Become an amazing writer. That means study, that means mentorships. It might mean an MFA, or it might mean a whole lot of practice. It means submitting your work to literary magazines. It means getting feedback from everyone you can who you trust to give you feedback. And it means making your writing the very best it can possibly be.
As the number of books grows higher and higher and higher, more and more, 2 million a year, writers are still writing, and that includes me. I get up every morning and I'm writing my next thing. And I love it. So my advice to aspiring writers is, if you love it, do it, and, let the chips fall to where they may.
To learn more about this topic and our guests, Allison K. Williams and Michael Castleman, head to viewpointsradio.org. Castleman's book, The Untold Story of Books, is now available online. You can learn more about Williams by heading to her site at AllisonKWilliams.com. That's Allison with 2 L's. Our executive producer is Amira Zaveri. Our studio manager is Jason Dickey. I'm Gary Price.